taught your fence a lesson.
Yeah. And the police ignored. All right. Hey, guys. What's up? My name's Corey Allen, of course, and this is Palmetto Talk Live. We've got a special guest in the studio. It's 10:01. Hey, man. We're on time today. How about that? So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get the show started. We got Rom Reddy in studio running for governor, and I think it's going to be a really good interview and discussion.
Live and local talk from the mind behind the Overton Report. It's time for Palmetto Talk Live with your host, Corey Allen. Now, your host, Corey Allen.
All right, here we are. It's been a wild week. It's been a wild few weeks. And in South Carolina, Henry McMaster obviously cannot run again. And this gubernatorial race, there's been many people, and then a last-minute contender who came in, who, had been pushing for judicial reform, family court reform, doging South Carolina, at the end of the day, decided, you know what, I've got to put my hat in the ring. He decided that was what he had to do. Rom Reddy is joining us. How's it going, man?
Awesome.
It's
Glad
good
to be here.
Yeah, man, it's good to
we've
have
talked
you.
a lot over the phone and all that, but
Yeah.
And
at your events, but you've never actually been able to make it in studio to come in. So
love this high rent district you're in.
One thing I forgot to apologize for is the last week I was upset about a story, and I had a pen, right, and I went like this, and the pen exploded. So I don't know if you see all the pink ink on the ceiling. And
I do, actually. Wow.
It's I'm sorry about that. We just haven't got the paint in to fix that yet. But sometimes I get a little emotional. But anyway, sorry about that. So you're running for governor, man. This is, I think that people are really interested in understanding your story as far as from, because we've talked about your story from, a kid with polio to coming to America, taking part in the American dream, becoming a business owner and entrepreneur. But as far as your decision to go into creating Doge SC, which we'll talk about in a little while, and then entering politics in general, right? I think people are very interested in knowing why and how that happened. So can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I have to tell you, I have zero interest in entering politics. And think about this, Corey. No one has ever done this in the history of South Carolina, entering it with my own money.
Well,
right?
That's true.
And no one's money. I don't think it's happened in our generation, and I don't think it'll happen again in this generation. I had no interest. So the real issue is why? Why? So when Doge SC started out, we started out saying, okay, there's clearly a completely out of control situation. I'm going to go back a little bit in history, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So when this country was founded, the Declaration of Independence, there's the second paragraph of it really emphasizes everything. It says, endowed by a creator with certain unalienable rights, meaning our rights come from God. And the very next sentence to it says, government exists by the consent of the governed, meaning government's job is to protect these rights. And so it seemed like I think it was the 28th president, Woodrow Wilson, we started getting away from that.
Sure.
And Woodrow Wilson said that is stupid, it is antiquated, and we're going to do it this administrative state and all that. And
the beginning of the progressive movement.
The beginning of the
America.
Progressive movement, because he felt like the foundational principles were dated, and that progressive movement now suddenly in South Carolina has taken off. I mean, you look at what's happened in South Carolina. Money and power has transitioned from the citizen to the government in a big way, and government, instead of protecting the rights of citizens, what do? They actually have taken that power and through a vast agency state, 101 plus agencies and a far from independent judiciary, they've weaponized government against the citizen. So that's kind of the start of Doge SC. Like, why is this? Why do we need 101 agencies to run the state? And I started looking into it. But Corey, I have to tell you, when I started looking into it, and Doge SC, we went around the state, I started talking to what I call the voiceless citizen. You know, I don't talk to the elites. I don't take money from anyone. I don't talk to all the people, the rulers, the so-called rulers. And the stories I was hearing in family court, in probate court, with DSS, DES, all these agencies, I have to tell you, this is my opinion, and you can disagree with it. Family court is, I think, state-sanctioned criminal extortion. We are extorting parents in the worst time of their lives. We're destroying kids. When I started to see all this, I said, okay, we got to do something about this.
Sure.
And Doge SC started expanding its scope. That's when we got into judicial reform, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And I said the whole idea of legislators appointing judges and then practicing in front of the judges they appoint, not only is it center cut unconstitutional, this is what starts the weaponization of government, right?
Well, let me pause you there because the legislature choosing judges is specifically state constitutional as far as the state constitution goes, right? That's what it requires. It requires it requires that the legislature be involved in the selection of judges in our state constitution. Do you think that is when you say unconstitutional? I guess I'm just wondering. Do you mean it's unconstitutional at the federal level, or do you think, like, for example, do you think that it's something that's in our state constitution that goes against the federal requirements?
No. I actually think with all due respect, I think you're incorrect on that.
Okay.
I think the state constitution appoints something called the JMSC. It says the JMSC is supposed to pick judges. The members of the JMSC are supposed to be appointed by the legislature. So in theory, the legislature says, "Hey, Corey, I think you'd be a great guy. You're a great lawyer. You got great knowledge, or you're a law enforcement guy, and I would like you to be on JMSC and vet these judges." But guess what happened? As it always happens, 31% of our legislators are trial lawyers, and they said, "Well, do we really need to appoint other people? We'll appoint ourselves."
Okay.
So they started appointing themselves to it. That's where we went awry. It's nothing to do with the Constitution. And that's why, with the judicial reform we're doing, we're not doing it saying this is a constitutional amendment. We're simply saying you can appoint yourself, period.
Okay. So what's your perfect world when it comes to JMSC, the way it runs without a constitutional amendment, a state constitutional amendment? For those out there, I need to be very specific because you know how people are.
Well,
What's your perfect world when it comes to the way it's done under the current Constitution, and would you like to see it go further to potentially a constitutional amendment being presented and voted on by the people?
so this is where executive leadership differs from political leadership. Executive leadership, what we look at is we need results, and we need results now. We're not going to sacrifice perfect at the altar of good. So in judicial reform, what we said we're going to do is we're going to work without a constitutional amendment. Remember, a constitutional amendment requires 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate to vote to put it on a ballot so you can vote on it, right? And so we said, let's see what's the most we can do without a constitutional amendment, and just legislatively. So the most we can do is what our judicial reform bill is, which it says the legislators and their next of kin cannot appoint judges anymore. The JMSC will now be such that the executive branch recommends the JMSC members, and the legislative branch in total, not a handful of legislators, says yes or no, I'm okay with your recommendation.
As opposed to a
JMSC.
committee, it would be the entirety.
In its entirety. They have to vote up or down, and if they say, no, I don't like that nomination, then the executive branch puts up another nomination. So that's sort of the, in a way, it's one branch is recommending, the other branch is approving, right? So that's the most you can do without a constitutional amendment. That's what we want to get done. That's what was voted on. I actually got all these warring groups together in the House. They don't even talk to each other. The one caucus doesn't talk to another caucus. We got them all in a room. We explained to them what was going on. We explained to them why it's not constitutional for one branch to control another. And all 85 Republicans in the House voted for it. Then it goes to the Senate, right? I like to say the Senate because of the Senate rules. By the way, it can be changed. Senate rules can be changed by the Senate.
Right.
But there's no leadership to change it. So in the Senate, the committees are decided by seniority, and so the senior guy stays in place until, I guess, he dies, or the voters wake up and say, well, this guy's a really bad guy.
Well, even then, it's not, even if they decide that, they can't do anything about it. So,
That's right.
yeah.
So it's a simple change to what Florida does, which is as a chair, the Senate rules can be changed to say you're voted in as a chair and you have a term of 2 years. So you do your best and then you're done, but they won't do it. So
Be reelected if you're doing well or
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure how
It's a
Florida
2-year
does.
term. Period.
Okay.
And so then, so what happens here? 27 out of 32 or so Republican senators supported judicial reform. Again, us working it from the outside as citizens. One guy, Luke Rankin, really bad guy, ex-Democrat, decided he couldn't win as a Democrat, so he turned Republican. He's a lawyer legislator. He is on JMSC himself. And so he's the head of the judiciary. He holds it up. Now, again, if you had leadership like a Shane Massey, who's a Senate Majority Leader, he can say, listen, you can't hold up the will of the people. That's tyranny. That's the definition of tyranny, right? When power is in one hand.
Sure.
I'm going to use my leadership role to pull it out and put it to a floor vote. But Shane Massey won't, because he is part of the cabal, the lawyer legislator cabal that benefits from this. So we've got a massive cabal here in judicial reform. Now, you asked me the next question. If you had a leader in the executive branch, we'd have gotten this done. Without a question, we'd have gotten it done. And I will get it done in the very first year. But you asked me another question. What would be the ideal situation? The ideal situation is a constitutional amendment that then says, you know what? The governor can pick, the executive branch can pick the judge. That has to be voted on by the consent of the Senate. But you only get 3 years as a judge, and then the people in that district can vote yes or no. It's not an election. They just, it's called a retention vote. You say, yes, Corey's doing a good job. I'm going to give him another term. Or no, Corey's a crook. I'm going to vote him out. And if they vote him out, it goes back to the
governor, the
process.
executive,
Back to the
Back to
process.
the initial-
So
yeah.
that's the best combination, but it would require a constitutional amendment. Now,
Are there any other states that do that?
Florida does it.
That's what Florida. Okay.
That's what Florida
Oh,
does.
that's right. They do the T. Okay.
Beautiful,
Okay.
beautiful. It works great. It keeps the people involved, and it keeps judges from running in free elections. I think Ralph Norman says that's what he wants. Judges running in free elections. He says, "We the people." See,
That was going to be actually my next question, because Ralph Norman, and there may be one or two others who have. There are some people that say we should elect the judges outright. Ralph Norman is one of the leading voices on that. Actually, I saw an ad that he did recently where that was one of his main points. The people should elect the judges.
Right.
Now, I will admit that 2 years ago, I was on that bandwagon. I thought, the people should elect the judges. Then, as I continue to learn a little bit more and think a little bit more, a little bit deeper than surface level, right? I started to realize, well, wait a second. We have this situation or this issue in the United States where we are very upset that criminals are being released repeatedly. Various judges are not even doing what they're supposed to do when they're appointed. If we bring money, fundraising into elections and have the people of a town willing to vote to, it's going to be very dangerous. And we have some places where that's happened. And I don't see anywhere that that's happened in the United States when I started looking into it, where that has led to anything other than, oh, you've assaulted a dozen people. Well, here you are out on your own recognizance, and then suddenly a murder happens. You know what I mean? That's what and then that judge continues to be elected, and also that judge is presiding in front of lawyers, and there's no there's never been any ethics or legal violations for these lawyers to directly fund the candidacy of those judges. So it seems to me that the judiciary was always meant to be something other than an election, right? It's supposed to be a kind of the way that the Senate was initially supposed to be chosen by the state. The judges are not supposed to be chosen by the people because it's supposed to be a dividing line between the immediate will of the people versus the necessities of the republic. Does that make sense?
Let me for your listeners, let me summarize something that and take it at a high level to South Carolina. If you read the Federalist Papers written by Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson that actually explains the Constitution, you will see in it that they are dead opposed to judges being elected directly. And the question is why? So let's bring it to reality in South Carolina. You are in a South Carolina court, right? You're standing there. You're going to court because someone sued you, whatever. And you look across the aisle, and the lawyer on the other side raised $2 million for the judge's election, right? He literally raised $2 million for the judge's election, and you say, are you going to get a fair trial here? Just think about that. Put yourself in that situation. And then you take South Carolina one step further. The biggest dark money, we're 40 out of 50, by the way, in campaign transparency in South Carolina because the disclosure rules are so bad. You have these PACs that don't have to tell you where the source donations are coming from. So the biggest dark money in the legislative elections comes from these trial lawyers who are entirely corrupt. That's why 31% of the legislative body is trial lawyers, and less than 1% of the working population are trial lawyers. Now, you take that and you take these trial lawyer money and you put it into electing judges. Yeah. Can you imagine what's going to happen? The citizen, and I'm all about the citizen. I'm saying we have weaponized government against the citizen. We're going to have to get this back to even, where the citizen has a chance. When the citizen is standing across the aisle from a lawyer who raised money for the judge, you have no chance. People like Ralph Norman ought to really think about these things. And, he claims he's got all, he says he's not part of the, the existing swamp. He's been in government for 21 years. How is he the outsider? So, but when he makes these statements that sound good on a debate stage, or we the people, he doesn't think about the citizen. Mm-hmm. He doesn't think about the government being weaponized against the citizen. Our job is to de-weaponize it. And saying, electing a judge with the trial lawyer money, the citizens have no chance. I mean, right now, the citizens have no chance. Can you imagine?
Oh, I know you're exactly right. We're gonna go ahead and go to break, guys. These are our sponsors. When we get back, I do want to touch on some of the specifics about the. I want to ask you about the limitations, right, on the executive branch constitutionally, and I want to talk to you about the way that the press is turned and there are numerous things that we got to talk about. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and go to break. These are our sponsors. These are the people that make the show possible. Without them, we can't rent our studio. We can't do anything that we do. So support them. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. All right, quick heads up. If you're in South Carolina and thinking about getting into real estate, the Real Estate School of SC has their Plant Your Future promotion going on right now, but only through April. So if you need to get your real estate license, you want to upgrade and become a broker, or you're up against that June 30th continuing education deadline, don't wait. Go to realestateschoolofsc.com and use code PLANT20, PLANT 20, and get 20% off of everything. That's Unit 1, Unit 2, property management, all of it. Simple, fast, discounted. Realestateschoolofsc.com, code PLANT20 for 20% off. In-person, virtual, and online classes right now. Go get it done. That's realestateschoolofsc.com. If you're planning a date night, don't settle for ordinary. Take it to another level at the Melting Pot. This is where dinner becomes interactive, where you dip into rich cheese fondues, cook your own steak and seafood right at the table, and finish with warm chocolate fondue and sweet dippers. Their signature 4-course experience takes you from savory to sweet in one unforgettable night. Perfect for couples, celebrations, or just reconnecting with old friends. The Melting Pot. Set the mood, slow things down, enjoy the moment. Find the Melting Pot at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard West in Columbia and make your next night out one worth remembering. The Cigar Militia is the place to be. Owned by South Carolina State Representative Jay Kilmartin, this isn't just a business, it's a passion. And you can feel that the second you walk through the door. Top-tier cigars, a welcoming atmosphere, even private lockers so your collection stays exactly how you like it. They even host regular gatherings that bring people together beyond just cigars. If you're looking for a place that values quality, conversation, and community, this is it. Look no further. The Cigar Militia and Columbia SC. Light up something better.
Looking for a realtor who gets it done and actually answers her phone? Meet Kristy Gore with Realty One Group Coastal. Kristy is a Tri-County top producer. She works hard, keeps you informed, and knows the Charleston Tri-County markets inside and out. From Dorchester to Berkeley and everywhere in between, she's helping you buy and sell residential homes with confidence. When other agents let calls go to voicemail, Kristy's picking up and already finding your next home. So don't wait. Call 843-998-8250 or go online to christyscoastalhomes.com, where local experience meets real results.
Live and local talk from the mind behind the Overton Report. It's time for Palmetto Talk Live with your host, Corey Allen. Now, your host, Corey Allen.
All right, guys, we're back with Rom Reddy, running for governor, independently wealthy, entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff in South Carolina, and what's always been kind of interesting to me about your story is that this is something that I think is ubiquitous. It was a little different for you, but in 2020, 2021, I saw a lot of people who became personally affected when the government finally came for them. They were like, wait a second. And then they started studying and learning. Wow, they've been setting this up for years to come after everyone, the citizens. Yeah. And that's what happened with you, right? I mean, you're not allowed to do what you want to do on your own private property. How dare you? I think that that's a really interesting story, and that's something that we have talked about before. If you guys check, we've got all those videos on my profile. I don't want to get into that again because there are so many things. You're running for governor, and I really want to know more about your belief system, what you hope to accomplish. one of the things is that people will say is that there is a restraint on the executive branch in South Carolina. The governor has, a lot of people will say, and maybe tongue in cheek or hyperbolically, that the governor is powerless or almost powerless, right? But I think that, personally, I think that the only reason that has been the case is because people who have that position have been unwilling to utilize what power they do have. So tell us what would make you different than the people who have said, well, the executive branch is weak. I can't do X, Y, or Z. So tell us what's going to make you different.
First, I want to just address that issue you brought up at the beginning on the 2019-2020 government coming after people. We actually talked about it on a show yesterday. I was running a business. I was on the other side of it. I had 500 people working for me. I had government telling me that these people had to take a vaccine. I picked up the phone. I called Henry McMaster and I said, why aren't you asserting state sovereignty? I will not ask my people to put something in their body they don't want to keep a job that they need. I said, so I actually faced $2,000 per person per day fines. I spent $400,000. I actually made a TV commercial saying this whole thing was a hoax. And I really believe that this is a fundamental difference. People are cynical about government. I don't believe government should be telling you what to do with your body. I did not allow a single person require them to take a vaccine. I didn't even require them to wear a mask. I said, if you want to do it, do it. My job is to give you information. It's your job to make the decision for yourself. And the government lied. McMaster and in the existing administration lied. They said they kept it open. They did this. They did not.
I know.
And they're on tape lying. So. The citizen is cynical about government. They keep making these promises to them and they never deliver. Going back to the executive branch, I take everything back to the foundations of this country and the Declaration. So go back to saying the most fundamental difference between our foundation and any other country in the world is the separation of powers, where our founders said each is a co-equal branch that keeps the other in check. So you have to have a strong executive branch to hold the legislature in check. You have to have a strong executive branch to hold all these agencies in check. We just take the lazy attitude here and we say, well, the Constitution is such that if a black person ever became governor, we want to make sure they don't have any powers. So the legislature, who the heck cares? It's all nice political theater, but Article 4 of the South Carolina Constitution is very clear. Article 4 says the governor is the supreme executive authority in the state. Act like it, for crying out loud. And this governor has powers that even the president doesn't have. He has a line item veto. The president doesn't have a line item veto.
Oh, that's right. Only
bill
or no bill.
He apparently cannot uphold a line item veto. To uphold a line item veto, you need 1/3 of the House or 1/3 of the Senate. And he can't. In a supermajority state, he says he gets overruled. So this is not a bad system. This is a lack of leadership. There is no leadership. No one can name a leader in the state. Not now, but for many years. And it's all this happy talk where they talk about things, but they do not know how to deliver. The second issue is, how dare these boards and commissions take over the executive branch? Again, it's unconstitutional. So part of my platform is we're going to have a constitutional commission as part of the governor's office. They're going to look at these laws, and I'm just literally going to walk. Let's say you are the SCDOT Commission, 9-member commission at SCDOT that manages our roads, 8 appointed by the legislature, the 9th, who's the transportation secretary, appointed by the 8. So no one is in charge, and you wonder why your roads are messed up.
Oh, yeah.
And let's say you are part of the commission. I'm going to walk into your office one morning, and I said, hey, thank you for your service, but I'm dismantling the commission. And they'll say, you can't do that. The legislature appointed us. I just did, because I am the executive. Are you part of the executive branch? then you work for me. And we're going to have a set of lawyers that includes out-of-state lawyers, because the in-state lawyers are another corrupt cabal. And so we're going to have a set of lawyers that says, take us to court. This is what President Trump is doing. He's exerting executive authority. We don't have the leadership to exert. And look at the people running. You asked me why I'm running. Look at the people running. You know, Norman, all of these guys, they've been in office for 20-some years. You know, just ask your listeners this. 10 years ago, we were in the bottom 10 in education, bottom 10 in roads, bottom 10 in median family income, top 10 in violent crime. Today, we're in the bottom 10 in education, bottom 10 in roads. It's the same. Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
There's only one thing that's changed. Our spending for government has doubled in that same time frame. And spending is what drives taxes.
Yeah.
And so the whole system, these people can't deliver. You know, I heard Nancy Mace on the debate stage. She said, I introduced 65 bills. No one has introduced that. And you know what? None of them became law, not one. So this is the difference between Congress and governing. So if you have 65 at-bats, right, and you get one bill through, she got none through, but if you get one through, you're running for governor or president or whatever. In governing, if you have 65 at-bats, you better get 50 hits, or you're a lousy executive.
0.3%. That's like 0.3% at bat.
I mean,
yeah,
that's the difference. So,
but also, you know, another thing that I'll say is when you're in the legislative branch as opposed to the executive branch or constitutional officers, it's a completely different, a completely different branch of government, but completely different responsibilities. If you're in the legislature, your goal is to push as many laws through as possible, but passing more laws does not or rarely benefits the people, right? It's just more laws, more regulations.
Exactly. It's the
pushing
opposite.
more power to a bureaucracy to
Correct.
create actually the laws that you decided as a legislature not to illustrate in your bills. It gets very convoluted, costs us all a lot of money. Two very, very, very different branches.
It's a different skill set. In the private sector, you look at it and say, okay, you're a staff guy, so you'll be a great accountant or something like that. You're a management guy, you'll be, a good manager. And then you're a leader. You can be a CEO, CO, whatever. It's a totally different skill set. And we don't understand that. And because we don't, and I say we, I'm saying we, the citizens,
Sure.
We don't understand that. That's why we keep putting these people who sound good on TV, have the one-liners. We look at their skill set and we say, they must be good because they sound good on TV. We put them in the executive branch. Nothing happens. Nothing has happened in South Carolina because of this mismatch of skill set. Take the two key people. Norman, 20 years he's been in office over there. At least 10 in Washington, 10 over here. Mm-hmm. In Washington, what has been his accomplishments where he's actually the guy who actually got something done and sponsored something? He passed a Medal of Honors bill. That's it.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot. I don't know.
Nancy Mace, you can look it up. What is the one bill where she's been primary sponsor? They all sign bills, of course. They sign bills or don't sign bills, depending what their leadership tells them to do. If they don't sign a bill, their leadership tells them to, they're off the committees. So, but I'm saying, what did they do? Where are their primary sponsors? Well, she's one primary sponsor bill in 3 terms. She renamed a post office in Hilton Head. So now all of a sudden we say, we're going to take, you're working for a private company. I'm going to take the guy, Alan, nice guy, I like Alan. And I'd tell Alan, I said, you'll be a great governor, but you got to get some executive experience. He's been 15 years, he's been the state lawyer, right? So
managing people.
Managing 200 people. All of a sudden you're saying, okay, I'm running this company. Am I going to take my lawyer and say, now run the company, especially a company that needs to be turned around? This is why, if your listeners can understand, we got to match up skill sets. We've got to say these skill sets are not transferable just because you sound good or look good on TV. If we do that, I think the state can aspire for greatness.
Speaking of looking good on TV. And just to move it into another thing, I know that you had a bit of a, well, you know, I don't think it was just you, but you and a couple of other people kind of had a back and forth and an issue with the South Carolina Republican Party with their scheduled debates that they were doing. You didn't attend the first one because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they had set it up to where you needed to have raised X amount of dollars from X amount of donors. You're funding your own campaign. And I know that a lot of people had an issue with that. And then a couple of days before the debate was actually supposed to happen, that first one, I think that was in Newberry, is that right? Yeah. They were like, oh, well, we're changing that rule. You don't have to do that anymore. But I know that, and then of course now you're allowed. Thank you, South Carolina Republican Party, for allowing candidates to take part in debates. Thank you so much. You went to this past debate in Charleston. I want to ask you what you think about. What do you think about? It was like their first instinct to say, you have to have raised enough money from enough people in order to even take part. What was your first instinct on that? And then what do you think about the way that they're holding these debates?
Well, my first instinct is I am not going to take the knee to the system. I am not going to follow their rules when they tell me you got to go take money to be on the debate stage. I said, the heck with that. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And then 3 days before they changed the rule, and I did not attend. Some people say, why didn't you attend? They changed the rule. I'll tell you why I didn't attend. Because my 15-year-old was going on a 2-week school trip, and I'd already told her I was going to be there to send her off. Yeah. And for me, I have no issues with these priorities. It's God, family, everything else. So she takes priority over everything. I wasn't going to change and say, oh, I'm sorry, I got to go to Newberry now because I can't be there. So I didn't. But as far as the debates go, Corey, they're set up for what I call the ruling class. They're set up for the one-liners. You know, you got 45 seconds on serious policy issues. There's no going back and forth. There's no asking Norman, hey, why do you say you're not part of the political ruling class? How do you feel about Nikki Haley endorsing you? What does that mean? You know, that
how do you feel about?
Yeah, is she the one telling you people should vote for judges? There's no back and forth. There's no nothing. And then you had another problem, right? I hadn't done this debate stuff for 50 years, certainly not in that format.
Sure.
And people were like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I started listening to people, and then I looked at it and I said, that's not me. Mm-hmm. What was on there was not me. I just need to be me. You know, like talking to you openly on any issues, no notes, no anything at all. Not like, oh, you got to remember to say that. And so I think next time around I think it'll be a lot better. But the format's bad. The format is set up. I don't think any of your listeners learned anything coming out of that on policy. You can't, right? It's all the one-liners that matter. And if you look good on TV or not. So.
And the people watching it already have their decision. I mean, that's the issue with these style debates. And, nobody at the SCGOP tends to listen to me, and that's why they always fail at everything. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that.
We should get a couple people in your studio and debating, talking about.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I mean, these debates shouldn't be a 1-hour debate with every 10 minutes, corporate ads, and it should be. However long it takes is however long it takes. We have questions, we have issues, because you're not going to solve the problems of South Carolina in 25 minutes of actual stump speech, clips, right? Because that's what it really is. I don't think that they're helpful. I think that they're meant for. I mean, this is just me, of course, but I think that those types of those format of those types of debates that are on the corporate media outlets are meant to get, like you said, 45-second clips, and who can say a 45-second clip better? Well, I'll tell you this. there are no actors that I would trust with my government. There's nobody that can memorize a 45-second cut that I'm like, oh, you know what? They did the best 45-second cut. That's the person who should run our government. It's way too nuanced, way too important for that. So I would love to see 3 and 4 hour hardcore discussions.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way. They don't
I
have
know.
any. They don't have any policy. And this goes back to the previous comment you made. This is what programs people to say, "Oh, you look good in 45 seconds, so even though you don't have any skill set or any executive experience, you're going to run this huge big government that's totally broken." And South Carolina's government is broken. It cannot be fixed. It
Because
has
you
to
got
be
the biggest
rebooted.
applause
Yeah.
after a 30-second clip. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird to me. The more I learn about politics, the more strange and upsetting actually it becomes to me. So
It is, and the bad part is the voiceless citizen doesn't have a voice. It is all rigged. 400,000 people vote in a Republican primary out of 5.5 million. 100,000 votes, you can get into a runoff. And so the elites and the donor class know that. So the only way for a revolution is for people to go to the polls and say, enough, I'm not going to buy into this charade.
I mean, I'm with you, and I'm not trying to just be agreeable, but I agree with you on that point. I want to go to one more break, and when we get back, I do want to talk about something important that I think is important. You bringing together the Freedom Caucus, the Republican Caucus, and even members of the Democrat Caucus together on certain items, and I want to talk about the transition from Doge SC to the gubernatorial race that has upset some, and I think some of their personally, I think that some of their concerns are legitimate and probably need to be discussed. So we'll be back in 2 minutes, guys, after these messages from our sponsors with Rom Reddy, and we'll touch base on the movement from judicial reform and Doge SC to gubernatorial candidate with Rom Reddy. We'll see you in a sec. All right, quick heads up. If you're in South Carolina and thinking about getting into real estate, the Real Estate School of SC has their Plant Your Future promotion going on right now, but only through April. So if you need to get your real estate license, you want to upgrade and become a broker, or you're up against that June 30th continuing education deadline, don't wait. Go to realestateschoolofsc.com and use code PLANT20, PLANT20, and get 20% off of everything. That's Unit 1, Unit 2, property management, all of it. Simple, fast, discounted. Realestateschoolofsc.com, code PLANT20 for 20% off. In-person, virtual, and online classes right now. Go get it done. That's realestateschoolofsc.com. If you're planning a date night, don't settle for ordinary. Take it to another level at the Melting Pot. This is where dinner becomes interactive, where you dip into rich cheese fondues, cook your own steak and seafood right at the table, and finish with warm chocolate fondue and sweet dippers. Their signature 4-course experience takes you from savory to sweet in one unforgettable night. Perfect for couples, celebrations, or just reconnecting with old friends. The Melting Pot. Set the mood, slow things down, enjoy the moment. Find the Melting Pot at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard West in Columbia and make your next night out one worth remembering. The Cigar Militia is the place to be. Owned by South Carolina State Representative Jay Kilmartin, this isn't just a business, it's a passion. And you can feel that the second you walk through the door. Top-tier cigars, a welcoming atmosphere, even private lockers so your collection stays exactly how you like it. They even host regular gatherings that bring people together beyond just cigars. If you're looking for a place that values quality, conversation, and community, this is it. Look no further. The Cigar Militia in Columbia, SC. Light up something better.
Looking for a realtor who gets it done and actually answers her phone? Meet Kristy Gore with Realty One Group Coastal. Kristy is a Tri-County top producer. She works hard, keeps you informed, and knows the Charleston Tri-County markets inside and out. From Dorchester to Berkeley and everywhere in between, she's helping you buy and sell residential homes with confidence. When other agents let calls go to voicemail, Kristy's picking up and already finding your next home. So don't wait. Call 843-998-8250 or go online to christyscoastalhomes.com, where local experience meets real results.
All right, guys, we are back, and we are here with Rom Reddy, gubernatorial candidate, readyforgovernor.com. That's REDDY for FOR, governor.com. We're going to, of course, put that in the description. Now, a lot of people, Rom, and thank you again for joining us in studio, a lot of people have questioned, right, the transition from Doge SC, which is what you initially created. So you created Doge SC kind of on the heels of the Doge movement, and then you guys started to focus on judicial reform, family court reform, etc. And last minute, right before, I guess, was it a week or so before the closing of signing up to run, you decided to run for governor and put all of the eggs of Doge SC and judicial reform into that basket. I want to ask you, and this is a question that I think a lot of people have, what is it that led you to going from Doge SC, which was an outside, I would call it a lobby, right? But also, I'm one of the people that says that the citizens are a lobby, pushing for certain key items in the legislature to deciding to pour it all into running for governor.
So the way these, you're right. It's a 501c4, which is like a political advocacy group.
Sure.
Most political advocacy groups, they raise money and they do political advocacy. For me, I didn't raise money. It's all my money. So it's always interesting that when people say, well, we feel let down by Doge SC. I said, like, did you contribute even $1 to it? No. It's, first of all, it's all my money, 99.5%. The other 0.5 were friends of mine, and they were like, yeah, baby. So, I want to clarify that, first of all. Then, what happened at Doge SC? I spent over $1 million on Doge SC, right, to get it off the ground, to put all my money, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like most executives, I'm not focused on all the rah-rah, okay, look what Doge did. We did a lot. We developed the tools, the AI tools for regulations, analyzing, and they're all ready to go, by the way, on day one.
That's right.
We developed a forensics audit tool. We developed this stuff for judicial reform and equal parenting. I'm not getting results. I got judicial reform. I got all these groups together. I spent a lot of money getting all this thing organized, getting the bill drafted, getting these people together. They get it voted. It goes to the Senate. I can't get it out of the Senate because the Senate is being held up on person. So I said, I cannot get a result. I cannot get a result. I'm all about results. Am I just going to keep putting $1 million a year to say I'm Doge SC and get the publicity out of it? No. I said, I need to get a result, and then I wanted to back someone. I said, if I can back someone in the executive branch, that's fine. Look at the people. I analyzed all the people running. Every one of them is from inside the system. All 5 of them added up, they're 53 years in government. Someone told me this guy Warren, who ran last time, might run, and I said, if Warren ran, I'd maybe back him. Anyone from outside the system, I would have kept Doge SC alive. But then when that didn't happen, and I'm pouring my own money into it, I said, I'm just going to go ahead and jump in this thing to see if I can get results. I need to get results. I can't just be stuck in the process. So again, it's my money, and I always tell people, when in America did we start telling people this is what you should do with your money. And how did it start? It started with this guy, Will Folks, who runs this Fitz News outfit. I was paying Will a $100,000 a year rate as a retainer to help me navigate the legislature. So when, as Doge SC, when I decided to run for office, I decided it was unethical. You know, my standard is, when in doubt, take the path of highest integrity. I decided it was unethical to pay someone to write nice things about me, so we decided not to pay him. So now if he attacks me on policy, I'm fine. He attacks me personally. He starts insulting me, and this is the guy, and he doesn't bother me one bit, because I've been there, I've been on the front lines. It bothers people like my wife, Renee, who says, this guy came, he slept in our house for our Christmas party, sat at our dinner table, sat with my family, and she said, I thought he was a good guy. And then after he started attacking me, she starts researching, saying, this guy's a really bad guy. Apparently, I didn't know this, I don't know if your listeners know this, he apparently pleaded to beating a woman. Who beats a woman? He's a woman beater. And he's attacking me personally? And why are women even subscribing to this to this thing? I didn't know this till Renee started to tell me all this stuff, because she said, I misunderstood these people. So Will Folks started this thing because he felt that I stopped paying him. So if I start, it's like the mafia, it's like extortion. If you don't pay me, I'm going to keep attacking you until you agree to pay me. Well, I'm not going to pay him. It's unethical to pay him as a candidate.
Well, I mean, I agree with that, and you know, it's very interesting that you make that point, because a lot of candidates pay a lot of people who write stories. I can't tell you, and I appreciate that. You know, that's the first time I've heard you say anything like that about that situation. Plenty of times I've had people who are in office or people who are candidates come to me and say, you know, let me give you money to say good things about me. You know, we have a couple of people who are in office or are running for office who sponsor us from their business, and it is in the deal. You have zero influence or effect over what we say. If you screw up, you screw up. But yeah, I think that you found something out that a lot of people who maybe aren't men or women of means, who have the actual funds or ability to fight back the way that you've been able to, have found out very quickly, which is you come into this and you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and you think like we can, and then you start seeing like, even if, which you did get even if I can get the Freedom Caucus, the Republican Caucus, even members of the Democrat Caucus together on judicial reform, there is going to be a lobby that is more powerful.
Correct.
And will throw a kink in it, and they'll throw a kink in it in a judiciary committee. Yes. Not even the stranglehold that some of these groups have is something that I guess that you're explaining to me right now. The disillusion that I have felt multiple times.
Well, and I want to go back to something we talked about earlier, which is we have to exert executive power to fix this. This is what our founder said, and we've stepped away from it. I will exert that executive power. I will make sure that these things all get disentangled. And I know there's a lot of people, a lot of your listeners, I know a lot of people personally who are suffering from this system. For those of you who I do not know personally, I just want them to know, I hear you, I see you, and I will not let you down.
Well, and they can reach out to you through your social media, Ready for Governor, and they can reach out to you through your website.
And we do 2 Zoom calls a week where I take all questions. Do you? 2 Zoom calls a week.
Where do you get the links to that?
Just go to our website and register. Anyone can register. I take questions from all over, and I told the people on the last Zoom call on Monday, I'm going to keep doing this as governor. I want to keep talking to people.
Oh, really?
We're going to rename the governor's mansion the People's Mansion. We're going to open it up. We're going to have open houses there. We've got to go back to how it's supposed to be. We work for the people. This thing about government exerting their authority on people and weaponizing government, I will stop it, Corey. I'm not in anyone's pocket. Every one of these people running are bought and paid for. I am not in anyone's pocket. It's a once in a generational opportunity to say, we're going to put someone in office who literally has no special interests. I have no business interests. I have no donors. I have no anyone. And I will take care of the voiceless citizen.
I mean, those are big words, man. We've got about five or 6 minutes left. I just kind of want to open it up to you to tell people, really, whatever you want to tell them, whatever we haven't really touched on that you want to.
Well, I think what we have to do, fundamentally what we have to do is we have to go back to our founding documents. If you look at the 4 principles I've laid out on my website, they tie directly to our founding documents. And then there are 8 specific things I said I will deliver. That includes eliminating the income tax the right way, which is eliminating the spending. All these things people talk about. I heard one of them on the stage saying, "I've got the plan that'll freeze the spending." The frozen thing she's talking about is $11 billion. We're already at $15 billion. So how are you going to get from 15 to freezing it at 11? So it's all this, what I call the S&M theory of politics, smoke and mirror theory of politics. We will eliminate the taxes the right way by cutting spending. We will eliminate the property taxes on cars the right way by cutting local spending. We will make sure that senior citizens who have lived in the state for at least 10 years, there is some way for them to phase out these property taxes, which are out of control.
Oh, yeah, absolutely they are.
We've got to get judicial reform through. We got, like you said, fix the executive branch. I'm going to tell you one last thing that your listeners may or may not like, but I feel strongly about it, and that is protecting our children. We're top 25% in the nation for crimes against children. We have a law that says if you rape and brutalize a first degree, which is 11 years or less, it's 25 years in prison. No one does it. They're out in 2 years. Yep. They have a 10% success rate with it because they're recommitted. My wife and I have been working with our foundation on this for 20 years. These people cannot be cured, these child predators. So we have a modification that I will introduce in the very first year, which says a mandatory, you're going to do the full 25 years, or a mandatory condition of parole is physical castration.
Okay.
It is the only thing that works.
Not even chemical, just...
No. Chemical castration, you got to show up there every year and all that. They'll never do it. It's physical castration. Denmark does it. Czech Republic does it. Germany does it. They have a 96% success rate. With what we have, which is catch and release, we have a 12% success rate, and we're top 25%. And you hear all these people talking, these politicians. I hear, some of these people say death penalty. Well, you can't do the death penalty because there's a Supreme Court rule that says unless the child dies, you cannot impose the death penalty. It's an Eighth Amendment cruel and unusual punishment violation. Now, Governor DeSantis and a few others might challenge it. It could take years for it to happen.
Or decades.
We got to do something today.
Sure.
Today. I'll get it done. I will get it done, Corey. I'm telling you, this is going to be transformational. I hope your listeners don't buy all this stuff that these politicians tell you, we the people elect judges, I'm going to clear out all this dead wood when I've been there for 21 years, so don't buy it.
That's a valid, that is a valid concern because it's like if you were going to do X, why didn't you do X?
Do it?
It's 2 decades.
Why didn't you do it?
Come on, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people have accomplished a lot of things in 2 decades.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anywhere you're going to be in the next week or so that you want to tell people about?
We're going to be in Irmo tomorrow at Liberty on the Lake.
Okay.
We take questions. We have huge crowds that show up. It's crazy. We're the only ones, by the way, who have these events where we just attract large crowds. We take questions or whatever. We have an event here in Charleston on the 12th of May of Long Point Road. We'd love to see people show up for that. We're going to be in Sun City, Hilton Head, Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
So it's all posted on our website, readyforgovernor.com. Please, we would love to see you there. No restrictions on questions. I will never say anything to you that I don't tell Renee around the dinner table.
All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming in the studio today, man. Come in anytime. I'm happy to talk to you whenever. All right, guys. Well, that's the end of the show today. We'll be back on tomorrow. I don't remember who we have on. It's been, but I'll let you know in my post. That was Rom Reddy, Ready for Governor, REDDY FOR, readyforgovernor.com. We'll put that in the description, and also we'll put Ready for Governor. We'll tag their social media in the description comments as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow at probably 8 o'clock, but I'll let you know.
Thank you, sir. That was great.